All right, good evening, and welcome to another episode of WeatherGod's Wisdom, where we talk about tropics and various other weather-related things. So tonight we're going to be talking about the upcoming pattern change that is going to be over the majority of the continental United States. I'm going to talk briefly about this system in the northwestern Caribbean and what the future holds for the rest of the Atlantic hurricane season and what is possibly in store. But first, we're going to talk about this system in the western Atlantic. Obviously, as you can see, you have lower level clouds moving to the west here and kind of just stationary clouds to the south here. Got some showers in here that are starting to try to pop here, and you've got a very removed mid-level area of kind of turning, not really circulation, because if you look at the lower level circulation, you can see that that is mainly near the Yucatan Peninsula, and you have this mid-level turning that's all the way south of Cuba. So this is not even close to stacked at all, and in fact is very, very disorganized. And if you could look at the National Hurricane Center 5-day graphical outlook, you can see it only has a 10% chance of development here, and that's largely due to the shear that's being induced upon the system from an upper-level anticyclone that is centered over the Western Caribbean that is kind of shearing anything that comes through here. And now if it was under this mid-level circulation right in here, we could be talking about a very different system. But unfortunately for the system, it is centered over here, and the lower level circulation will not win this because it does not have the bones, per se, to do so. And there's not really a whole lot of mid-level moisture in here that we're seeing. And you can again look and see there's not a whole lot of sustainable mid-level moisture that's in here. You typically want to see a more kind of lighter gray in here like this. But you're not going to see a whole lot with this system that comes out of this system, and it's going to take a while. It would take a while for this area to generate pressure falls that do develop a lower level circulation, and this kind of spontaneous convection is not going to be getting organized anytime soon. And actually, the only model that really hints at any type of organization, if you go to the European model here, you see there's a little blip of lower level kind of vorticity in here that heads off to the west, and this is where the forecast period essentially ends. And so you have this kind of broad turning of lower level vorticity that is in this area that's meeting up with a short wave right here. And actually, if you go to the 500 millibar height anomaly, you can see that a trough is somewhere in here, and you have 585s, 582 millibars, and even 579 down here that indicates this trough, and this mid-level ridge is really backed off to the east. And so the lower level ridge is really the only thing that would be dictating this, and that would steer it almost due west before it gets picked up by this short wave. You can see that the short wave kind of backs off, and there's another one that comes in, and the circulation kind of just gets strung out here. And again, this is at 168 hours, so we still have a little bit of time to flush this out. But right now, the European model is the only one that shows this kind of solution, and ultimately, I don't think this is going to be a big thing to be talking about. We may have a little bit of a surprise in here, but other than that, the European model is one of the only ones that is really showing any kind of organization with the system. So that's all for that. Now, if we go to the United States overall, you can see the dominant feature here is still a upper level ridge that is centered over the eastern United States. It has begun to decay, and you can tell that this trough, the original trough that was in here about a week ago, has now moved all the way over to the Midwest here and has cooled it down a little bit in this area. And you can tell that the ridge is beginning to kind of decay, and you have a upper level low that's in here as well. And this shortwave is what I'm talking about when it comes down here, and may actually give us, and again, we're going to look at the 200 millibar vorticity map just to show that this ridge is still there, but you can see the kind of remnants of this trough that's in here, and it's just kind of moving straight, this jet streak of sorts that's moving along, and you can see the upper level low that's here is actually connected to a streamer, a PV streamer of sorts that is kind of broken off here, and is likely the reason that the European model does not develop this system. And so that's probably why the conditions will remain hostile for development in the Gulf of Mexico right now. But the dominant pattern is this ridge that is sitting over the eastern United States. And if you look to the west, you can see on the very edge, you can see that the original trough has kind of left a tail here of sorts, and this is the main tail, or the main body of the system. And you have another trough coming in here that will ultimately try to break down this ridge, and you can actually look, go to regions here, and look at the continental United States, and then go to anomaly. You can see this trough lifts out, and this ridge is essentially gone over the United States. And so you have this trough that extends all the way down past Alabama now. And you have a more wet pattern and a more cool pattern that has formed. And you have the original trough right here. You see how strong this ridge is still, even though you do have this cutoff low that's in here. And this just ultimately, it breaks it down, and that's good because we've seen very, very warm temperatures in this area for several days, and you can see the moisture is still very high, so it's actually hot and humid too. You're also now having onshore flow of sorts that is being pushed on to these areas, and so you're getting more Gulf moisture, and it's just kind of a combo of sorts of just groggy weather. And now you're starting to see this energy kind of be released here because of mid-level kind of convergence in here that's happening. And so we've actually, if you look at the radar loop in here, you can see that we're kind of having these thunderstorms that develop and are beginning to diminish for the evening, and you can see several outflow boundaries that are kind of closing in on the Dallas-Fort Worth area in here, and some thunderstorms that are closing in on Austin and San Antonio in here, and even thunderstorms in Houston and Shreveport and here Louisiana, and northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas in here, that are all kind of generally moving in concurrence with this upper level low that has been kind of drifting across the Gulf of Mexico and is now moving over Mexico itself and southern Texas. So this will kind of be pushed by the mid-level ridge out into this general area, and according to the European model, this eventually, you can see it right in here, is kind of just deleted. So not a whole lot to talk about tonight, but, and also before I forget, all credit goes to tropicaltidbits.com for providing all this wonderful imagery that I'm using, and the University of Wisconsin for all this imagery, and the College of Dupage for providing the radar and other imagery that I use on this site. And so now I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here and talk about Dr. Jeff Masters. He recently announced that he was leaving the Weather Underground community, and I just want to kind of go and say briefly that I just deeply and utterly appreciate everything that he has done for the weather community. I don't think even I realize how much he has done for me in particular, because I cannot imagine my life right now without, the weather blog, and I cannot imagine my life without, weather, essentially. And he was a big proponent of me really advancing my knowledge in weather and being able to, do the things that I do and record these videos, essentially, because he introduced me to, like, Levi Cowan, who runs TropicalTidbits.com and runs the far more successful Tropical Tidbits YouTube channel. And without Jeff Masters, I don't think I would have been able to do all this. And so him and Bob Henson, who run the Category 6 blog, I just really want to thank both of them for their just immense service to not just the weather community, but to this world, because they have inspired this this large and young generation of people that just love weather. And what you have done, Doc, has just been magnificent, and I really have appreciated every post and everything you've done for the world, and I hope that you carry that with you, and I hope that you continue your success at Scientific America. And I just love to see you around, man, and thank you so much for everything you've done. And just know that we in the weather community really do appreciate you and wish you the best in everything you have done. And with that, I'm going to end my video because I have an environmental science test I have to study for tomorrow. See ya.